am literally shooting this video for the 100th time. I am exhausted. I just can't seem to get my words right. Anyway, I'm blurbing. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Juicy Naile channel. You know what day it is. You know what day it is. Today is controversial topic type of Thursday. And today we are talking about a very sensitive topic, which is probably why I've taken so many takes of this and I just can't seem to get it together. But then as per the title of this video, today we are talking about fatherlessness, the absence of fathers, and we are reviewing this amazing book by Ps Simphiwe Kanityi. So if you grew up without a father, that is, your father is late, this is definitely the book for you. If you grew up in a society where your father is very much alive and living, but they don't play any role, I don't even want to say a pivotal role, any role at all in your life, this is the book for you, and this is definitely the video for you. And if you grew up with a father who is very much present in your life, but inactive, he does not play any great role in your life, this is your video, and this is definitely your book. You know, when I bought this book, all I wanted to do was to understand and put myself in shoes of people who grew up without fathers. All I wanted was to understand their perspective. You know how they say seek to understand than to be understood? That's what I was trying to do with this book. But for some odd reason, this book pushed me to the edge to actually think about my own situation. Well, I grew up in a typical functional family in society, that is a family where both parents are present, but somehow this book made me reflect on a lot about how my father's role in my life was and stuff like that. In this book, Ps Simphiwe Kanityi talks about his experience, but I promise you, you could learn a lot about how children that grow up without fathers react. You could learn a lot about yourself and how to handle the situation. Sometimes you don't have to experience a situation to learn about it. Listen, you are a guy who is going to be a father in the future. You are a woman who is going to be married to a guy that grew up without a father. You are a woman that is going to give birth to kids that will probably not have a father. We literally don't know the future. So equipping yourself and learning about life and life situations, social life, is very key. So let's get into this book. This book has a lot of chapters. Guys, I've learned so much. This book has a lot of chapters, and I'm just gonna pinpoint different chapters, but literally where I'm going is to the last chapter, which is Unlearning the Patterns that you develop in your journey of being fatherless. We're all about spreading positivity. I'm shooting straight for the last chapter. You need to get this for you. But anyway, let's touch here and there. He talks about growing up without a father, fear and bitterness, and the game changer. In this book, guys, he talks about how hard it was in his experience growing up without a father, how he developed emotions of bitterness and fear, of anger towards his dad, because in his head, right, he believed that a father is a man that creates a household. Do you understand? Like, if there's a father, and how they were treated in society, because apparently back then it was stigmatized. If you didn't have a father, then you were sort of incapable of doing some of the things that were done by other kids. He talks about how he was poor. He came from a very poor background, and in his head he had created an image of a father that is a provider, an image of a father that was a supporter, because reading through this book, he was not only poor financially, but he was poor spiritually at the beginning. He was poor socially, emotionally, and otherwise. right? So he talks about how he harbored all these feelings of bitterness because he could not voice out. He could not speak to anyone about how he felt. We all know how it was back in the days. For some people, even today, you don't have that one person you can talk to. That's why people encourage, see a psychologist, talk to someone. It makes a huge difference. So he harbored all these feelings and he didn't know how to channel these feelings towards positive vibes and good vibes in the beginning, right? Because in his head, his father came from a rich family, so he's had rumors, okay? He had that his father was from kingmanship or whatever, a family of kings, right? Like take for instance, if ngathiwa omhlakwana are kings, and then now you're growing up in a very poor family and you're like, so why did this nigga not want me? He had the money. So in his head, his father was rich in all aspects of life, which did not turn out to be the case. But you gotta read the book, right? So he talks about how he would literally get, in the beginning, where he talks about how after eating their main meal, they would take the base of the food and pour water, not clean water, dirty water, and they would feed that to the pigs. In my head, I was like, oh, you come from a place of privilege. But then as I go further in the book, that's where, in fact, as I turn the next page, I then find out, okay, hello. So what I liked most about this book, it had so many surprises, you guys. You think you've got something figured out, and then when you turn the next page, it's not the case. Here, I thought, oh, you fed that to the pigs. You come from a place of privilege because my mom has told me worse stories, right? But when I turned the page, you guys, he says that when situations got rough, when the going got tough, he would literally consider and actually even do, that is, take the food that was set aside for the pigs and they would eat it. And he then refers or takes reference to the story of a prodigal son, but his situation was even worse. If you know the Bible, you know the story. So he became very bitter. He even thought that once I see this man, I would literally kill them. And I like how he's so honest. He's not talking from a state of being a pastor. He's talking from a position of being a human being that has gone through life situations. I really love that about this book. I love that it's a real life situations. He then talks about a certain chapter that is the game changer. This is where his aunt carelessly introduces him to the dad's sister in town on a random day. This was the thing about our families back then. Even today, they don't know how to communicate things. They don't know how to sit kids down. And I really, really am here to say you need to do better for your kids. You need to do better for your family. If you are raising a child in the absence of a father, you need to know how to introduce things to them. You need to know how to touch on the topic, and you have to actually touch on the topic. You need to touch on the topic because in the child's head, a lot is going on. He talks about how kids who grew up in this setting actually hang on to things, be it positive or negative. They cling on them because to them, that's all they get to get. Do you understand? So you need to understand the position you are putting your child in. You need to understand the position that you are in as a child. You need to understand the problem that you are dealing with, and you need to find a way of going through that. He then talks about a boy that grows into a man. He says that when you are fatherless, you then go through this phase of, in fact, your entire life is about lack of identity. You don't know if you are growing or you are coming. Because you feel like you don't know who you are. You feel like, what's going to happen? You know, boys, in our culture in the Eastern Cape, they need to go to the mountains to perform whatever that's being performed there. But then you need to go there having been aware of who you are, having been aware of your true self. Do you understand? So he talks about how difficult such phases of his life were because he didn't know who he was. He felt lost. and without an identity, and people did not want to associate themselves with him, because who are you, honestly? And he then goes on to talk about love life and marriage. He gives different examples of his love life and a stage where he now has to go into marriage. Firstly, a lot of parents did not allow him to be close to their kids or to even want to marry their kids, because his father-in-law, for an example, felt that, so now if I give you my daughter, what are your kids gonna be? What identity are they then going to carry? Which means now, even in his old age, the burden of being fatherless continues to journey with him, which then becomes very difficult. He also talks about love. He says that when you are a fatherless child, or any parent for that matter, you don't know the true meaning of love. You've never seen how a father loves a wife. And you've never experienced how a man is supposed to treat a woman in your family settings, because you never had a father figure in your life. So now you reach a stage whereby you want to marry, you reach a stage whereby you want to bring someone into your life and build a family, but you just don't know how to love them. You don't know how to love them. You love them in general. Love a generic for everybody. Now he literally had to learn how to love his wife for who she is and whatever. I love this book, you guys, honestly. He then talks about how he lost his father again. His father passed. You need to read the book. He lost him again after finding him after some time. You need to read this book, you guys. Let's go straight to my favorite chapter now. That is chapter 13, which is the most important. He talks about unlearning the patterns, right? Which means that as you grow up without a father, you then grow into this person who builds a certain wall all around you. You're trying to protect yourself. You're trying to fend for yourself. Now he says, when you meet, for instance, when you want to get married, when you want to do better, because listen, if you grew up without a father, you need not want that for your own child. You need to reach a stage where you say, enough is enough. I'm not carrying this cycle into my own family. I'm not carrying this cycle into my own generation. I'm building a generation of kids that are fathered by their fathers. Which also means that we as women need to be very careful who we choose to have babies with, who we choose to associate with, who we choose to bring into our lives as our partners. So he talks about emotions, firstly. He talks about how he had to learn, right, to love his wife, because he didn't know how a man loves a woman. He never saw it. He didn't have a role model for it. He talks about how he had to unlearn the emotion of harboring things to himself, the emotions of wanting to protect himself, wanting to cover himself, wanting to fend to himself for himself, to now get to a state whereby it's okay to be loved. It's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to allow someone else to touch your life, which are things that he did not know. He needs to learn that it's okay to have someone who is going to support you, and that is what I'm here to tell you today. His next phase was talking. He says that he now, in fact, you also need to learn how to now voice out, how to communicate better, things that were not there growing up without a father. He now needed to learn that it's okay to voice out how he feels about things. It's okay to say, you know what, I don't like this. You know what, I actually like this. Things he did not have. So I'm here today to say to you guys, you need to unlearn the pattern of emotion that is negative, that you have allowed yourself to sort of hide in a cocoon. You need to talk to someone. You need to talk about the things that you are going through. He then goes on to talk about commitment, because he didn't know how a commitment from a male perspective happened or how it comes about. He then needed to learn how to commit to things, how to commit to people. He had to learn how to commit in life without feeling like he's gonna be disappointed, he's going to be hurt. In fact, even if he eventually got hurt, even if you eventually get hurt in the process of learning how to commit, that is life, honey, and you need to experience it. You need to remove this shield that you have built and allow yourself to commit to things and allow yourself to commit to people. That is the beauty of life. He then talks about teenagers and young adults. He talks about how earlier in the book I alluded on how I harbored hatred and bitterness, which led to a resolve to kill my father. He talks about how bitter he was. I need to tell you today, I said this in a live I had with Uzola. I said that if you grow up or you raise a child that is bitter and you keep your child from seeing their father, I need you to understand this fully. I need you to comprehend this fully, that you are the one who's going to be stuck with the bitter child that is broken, and you are the one who is contributing to our broken society. Okay, so now he and your child and you as a child need to unlearn your teenage emotions, your teenage life that was all wrong. You have an opportunity as an adult to create a better life for yourself. You have an opportunity as an adult to create a better life for your children. He had to unlearn the pattern of being married, because in his head, actually, he created his own idea of marriage, which is probably not what he wanted for himself, which is definitely not what you want for yourself. If it's negative, you don't want it. If it's bad, you don't want it. So yeah, you guys, let me leave it here. Please purchase this book. You can get this book by emailing Pastor Kanityi, which is kanityi.s@gmail.com, or in pursuit of my father@gmail.com. He's available on Facebook at In Pursuit of My Father and at Simphiwe Silosini. Twitter, he is Kanityi, and on Instagram he's at Kanityi_sim. Or if you don't know where to get this, you can always send me a DM and I will lead you to the right spot. I love you guys and thank you so much for watching. Be blessed. Let's create a society that we can be proud of. Let's raise kids that we can be proud of. Let's raise a healthy society. Let's raise kids that are not only healthy physically, but mentally and otherwise, because mental health is a real thing. Thank you so much. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram. I am Juicy Naile. On Facebook, I am Naile Pulang. And on Twitter, I am Juicy Naile. I love you.